The grand ballroom doors opened, revealing a sea of smiling faces, yet for Amara, the air in the opulent Chicago venue felt cold enough to freeze glass. She stood for a moment, a stunning figure in a custom-made deep emerald gown, observing the scene. It was a crisp October evening, and the historic hotel ballroom was suffocatingly formal, drowning in towering white rose centerpieces and excessive crystal. It was old money, and it was everything Amara was not supposed to be. Her husband, Mark, already looked strained, smoothing his tuxedo. Before Amara could even take his arm, his mother, Eleanor, swept in. "Mark, darling." Eleanor, draped in pale gold, pulled him into an embrace, her eyes sliding over Amara. "Amara, dear," she said, her smile thin and frosty. "That color is very bold for a family wedding, isn't it?" The implication, too loud for our world, hung in the air like cheap perfume. Mark just offered Amara a weak, apologetic shrug before being pulled away toward the family. Left alone by the doorway, Amara subtly checked the time on her phone. It was a quiet, professional habit, but it was also a reminder of a meeting she'd had last month, a meeting that now felt less like estate planning and more like a premonition. Amara sighed softly and moved to find their table, navigating the sea of unfamiliar faces. She found the seating chart, a large, ornate board. Mark. Table 1. The head table. She scanned the list again. Amara. Table 19. She found table 19 tucked in the back corner, near the catering entrance, filled with distant cousins she'd never met. She felt a cold knot tighten in her stomach. Mark reappeared, drink in hand. "Mark," she said quietly, keeping her voice perfectly even. "The seating chart. I'm at table 19. Mark flinched, refusing to meet her eyes. "Amara, please," he hissed. "Don't make a scene. It's just a seat. Mom's handling the arrangements." He turned and walked away before she could reply, leaving her standing alone again. During the cocktail hour, she became a portrait of isolation, holding a glass of club soda, poised and watching. She watched Mark laughing animatedly across the room with Chloe, his sister-in-law. They looked so comfortable, so easy. Eleanor, noticing Amara's gaze, glided over, her smile positively beaming, but not at Amara. "It's just so wonderful to see Mark happy," Eleanor said, loud enough for those nearby to hear, though she spoke directly to Amara. "He and Chloe have such a special connection. Some people just fit together, you know." The cruelty was breathtaking. As the DJ announced the first dance for all couples, Amara moved toward her husband, but Mark's eyes weren't on her. They were fixed on Chloe as he walked directly past his wife toward his sister-in-law. "Can you feel the tension in that ballroom? Amara is being tested, and we are just getting started." If you are already rooting for Amara's strength and want to see her rise above this, let us know you're here by commenting "poise" down below. This is Black Brilliance, and we are dedicated to stories just like this. If you're not subscribed yet, we highly recommend you do and ring that bell so you don't miss a single moment of her journey. Your support is what allows us to continue bringing these powerful narratives of resilience to light. Now, let's get back to the reception. One dance turned into 2, and then 3, leaving Amara anchored to her seat at table 19 as her husband slow danced with his best friend for the entire room to see. The DJ transitioned from an upbeat track to a classic Frank Sinatra slow song, a tune meant for romance. It only made Mark and Chloe's intimacy more glaring, more inappropriate. They laughed, heads close together, his hand resting possessively on her lower back. Amara remembered Eleanor's words from the cocktail hour, "Some people just fit together." She was now watching the living proof, and it was painfully clear who Eleanor believed did not fit. Amara kept her back perfectly straight, sipping her water, a mask of calm fixed on her face. But inside, she was burning. She could feel the eyes of the other guests, 200 pairs of them, glancing at her table, then quickly looking away. She had become an object of pity, a spectacle. A distant aunt of Mark's at a nearby table, a woman she'd met once, offered her a deeply sad look and mouthed, "I'm sorry." It only made the humiliation sting deeper. Eleanor, at the head table, was beaming at the dance floor with an expression of pure adoration, like a proud mother watching her children at prom. Chloe's husband, Arthur, was still noticeably absent, supposedly stuck on a work call. Finally, after the third song, Mark seemed to notice the optics. Amara saw his sister nudge him. He sighed, clearly put upon, and made his way to table 19. He pulled Amara onto the floor for the next dance. It was a chore. His body was stiff, keeping a noticeable, almost formal distance between them. He didn't look at her, his eyes scanning the room, distracted, already planning his escape. The second the song ended, he muttered, "I need a drink," and was gone, heading right back to Chloe's side as if pulled by a magnetic force. That was the final cut. Fleeing the dance floor's humiliation, Amara retreated toward the back hallway, needing air, needing to escape the stairs. As she passed a small alcove, she overheard Mark's sister, Sarah, whispering excitedly to an aunt. "You know he dated her first, right? Before Arthur. They were engaged. It's the big family secret, but everyone knows." Amara felt the floor tilt. She clutched the wall, the blood draining from her face. Her husband dated his sister-in-law. They were engaged. All the gaslighting, all the "you're insecure, you're too sensitive." It's just how her family's comments suddenly clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Feeling physically ill, she rushed to the ladies' lounge, needing a sanctuary to breathe. As she locked herself in a stall, trying to quiet her pounding heart, Amara heard the heavy lounge door open. Through the crack, she saw Chloe enter, place her designer clutch on the marble counter, and head into another stall. The small screen of the unattended phone lit up the dark marble counter, displaying a name that made Amara's heart stop, Mark. She watched, frozen in the stall, as the preview of his message appeared. "Can't wait to finally tell everyone tonight. This has gone on too long." A cold, sharp clarity cut through her humiliation. This was planned. All of it. Driven by a survival instinct she recognized from her toughest negotiations, Amara stepped silently out of the stall. The air in the opulent lounge was thick with cloying perfume, and the muffled, throbbing bass of the party outside suddenly felt miles away. Her mind flashed back, unbidden, to the lawyer's office a month ago. The smell of old mahogany and the lawyer's careful, almost warning tone. "That particular clause in your husband's trust is ironclad, Mrs. Amara. Irrevocable." She picked up Chloe's phone. It was unlocked, the height of arrogance. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady. She opened the message thread. It was all there. Months of them. "I married the wrong brother," Chloe had written. "He's so focused on his career, he won't even see it coming," Mark had replied. And the one that chilled her to the bone, "Your mom thinks we should announce it at the wedding. She's handling the Amara problem tonight." The businesswoman who ran a multi-million-dollar firm took over. Amara's hands moved with cold, precise fury. She methodically screenshotted everything, every last message. She sent the images to her own secure cloud, then opened her own phone and sent them to one other number in her contacts, Arthur. Her fingers flew as she typed a single message to Mark's brother. "Come to the reception hall now. Trust me." She deleted her message from Chloe's phone, placed it back on the counter exactly as she'd found it, and retreated to her stall just as the toilet in the next stall flushed. Chloe emerged, humming along to the muffled music, completely unaware. She grabbed her purse, reapplied her lipstick in the mirror, and swept out of the lounge. Amara waited exactly 30 seconds. She took a deep breath, composed her expression, fixed her own makeup, and walked back out into the fray. She returned to the ballroom with a calm, unreadable smile, watching as Mark, emboldened by her long absence, took the microphone from the best man. "I have something important to say," Mark began, looking straight at Chloe. "Amara has the evidence, she sent the text, and she just walked back into that ballroom with a plan. This is the moment everything changes. If you're still watching and you're here for this turning point, please comment with the number 8 below to let me know you're ready. And if you're not subscribed to Black Brilliance yet, I highly recommend you do. Hit that button and ring the bell, because you will not want to miss what happens next. Your support is what helps us continue to create this incredible content to inspire you. Now, let's get back to Mark and that microphone." Just as Mark paused for dramatic effect, his eyes shining with sincere emotion, a voice cold and sharp, cut through the silence from the back of the ballroom. "Don't stop on my account, little brother." The room went dead silent. The music died. All 200 guests froze, turning in their seats to look at the main entrance. There, still in a wrinkled business suit, his tie loosened, stood Arthur. He looked like he had driven straight from work, his face a mask of controlled rage and profound devastation. Amara watched from table 19 as the blood drained from Mark's face. He was frozen in shock at the microphone, his prepared speech forgotten. The screenshots she had sent just moments ago were now in the hands of the one man who had more to lose than she did. Chloe looked like she'd seen a ghost, her hand flying to her throat as she tried to shrink into her chair. Eleanor's smile faltered, turning to confusion and then pure anger at the interruption of her son's big moment. Arthur began to walk slowly down the center aisle, his work shoes echoing on the marble floor. He was holding his phone up, the screen glowing. "Please," he said, his voice carrying with terrifying calm, "tell everyone how you've been sleeping with my wife." He didn't wait for an answer. He walked calmly to the DJ booth, unplugged the laptop running the wedding slideshow, and connected his own phone to the venue's massive projection screen. Suddenly, the screenshots Amara took. "I married the wrong brother. Calvin is so boring in bed. Your mom thinks we should announce it at the wedding," were displayed 10 feet high for every guest to read. The room erupted. Guests gasped, pulling out their own phones to take pictures of the screen. Chloe let out a strangled sob. Mark lunged for the equipment, but Arthur, physically larger, held him back with one hand. Arthur wasn't finished. He grabbed the microphone. "Oh, and the medical emergency 2 years ago?" he said, his voice booming. "That was your baby she was aborting, Mark. I found the medical records." As the bride fainted and the room descended into chaos, Eleanor, recovering from her shock, rose from her chair, her face contorted in rage, and pointed a trembling finger not at Mark or Chloe, but directly at Amara. "This is your fault," she screamed. The room went silent again, every eye swiveling from the screaming mother-in-law to the woman she was accusing, Amara, who hadn't moved a muscle from her seat at the back table. Amara looked at her mother-in-law, recalling Eleanor's earlier, coded words. "That dress is very bold." She was about to find out just how bold Amara could be. The chaotic reception hall was stunned. The incriminating screenshots were still frozen on the giant projection screen, bathing the room in a harsh light. Eleanor was completely unhinged, her polite society mask gone, revealing the pure, venomous rage underneath. "I told you to leave quietly," she shrieked at Amara, her voice cracking with hysteria. "I told you 6 months ago you needed to go. If you just left, none of this would have happened." Mark stared at his mother as if seeing her for the first time, finally realizing what she'd done. Arthur stepped back, looking shocked at his own mother's vitriol. Fueled by rage, Eleanor's lifetime of prejudice spilled out in a torrent. "I've been trying to get rid of you since you walked into this family. You don't belong here. You, with your career and your opinions. Mark belongs with Chloe. I poisoned your food at Thanksgiving to make you sick, to make you leave. I told everyone you were only with him for his money, even though you have more than he does. Everything, just to make you leave." Amara, who had stood up, simply held up her phone. The red record icon was visibly glowing on her screen. She turned to Arthur. "Thank you, Arthur. I believe I have everything I need now." She walked calmly through the stunned crowd, retrieving the microphone Mark had dropped on the floor. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her voice steady and clear, amplified throughout the hall. "I just want everyone to know that every admission, every threat, and every confession tonight has been recorded." She looked directly at Mark, whose face was pale and sweaty. "You know that $2 million inheritance from your grandfather?" Amara asked, her voice dangerously pleasant. Mark's eyes widened in dawning horror. In the chaos of the affair, in the shadow of his mother's rage, he had completely forgotten about the money. He looked at Amara as if she were a stranger, which she suddenly was. She was no longer the victim at table 19. She was in complete control. "I had coffee with the estate lawyer last month," Amara said, her voice echoing in the silent room, recalling the very meeting she'd thought of when she first walked in. "I was updating my own will. He found it prudent to remind me of a certain clause in your grandfather's trust." She looked directly at Mark. "The will," she explained as if addressing a boardroom, "specifically states that the $2 million goes to you and your lawful wife." However, there is an adultery clause. If you divorce me, or if it can be proven you committed adultery, that entire inheritance goes to charity. You just lost $2 million, Mark. Eleanor finally made a sound, a strangled gasp, realizing she had personally and publicly destroyed her own son. Mark looked like he was going to collapse. Amara set the microphone down gently and gracefully retrieved her clutch bag from where Arthur had left it. She nodded curtly to Arthur, who was watching her with a new, profound look of respect. My lawyer will call yours. We have much to discuss. She turned to Mark, who was trembling. Enjoy your true love. She glanced down at Chloe, still crying silently on the floor in her expensive dress. By the way, that dress is hideous. Finally, she looked at Eleanor, whose face was a mask of ruined hatred. I hope every family dinner from now on is as uncomfortable as you made mine. Amara walked out of that reception hall in complete silence, head held high, the sound of 200 people watching her exit ringing in her ears. She got halfway to the parking lot, paused under a lamppost. Then, with a small, sharp smile, she turned around and walked back in. Everyone was still frozen, a tableau of their own destruction. Oh, and Mark, she said, her voice carrying easily into the silence. I'm keeping the house, the car, and the dog. You can have your mother. 6 months later, Amara sat in her new, stunning high-rise apartment overlooking the Chicago River, signing the final divorce papers. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number, but she recognized the prefix. It was Mark? Can we talk? She typed 3 letters, no. And then she blocked him. She hadn't destroyed his life, she just made sure everyone was watching when he did it to himself. Amara's quiet exit from that chaotic ballroom, leaving a family destroyed by its own prejudice, spoke louder than all the shouting. It serves as a powerful reminder that we must never judge others by their appearance, their background, or the assumptions we are taught to hold. When we choose to underestimate someone, we often fail to see the strength, intelligence, and brilliance they hold just beneath the surface. If Amara's story of strength and resilience resonated with your heart, please consider sharing that energy with those who may need it. We invite you to join the Black Brilliance community for more powerful stories that uplift and empower. What part of Amara's journey spoke to you the most? Let us know your thoughts.